Okay, here's our second video for the Collins Hill Lightning Lacrosse team. And what I want to talk about in this video is our basic offense. So what we do is we run a 2-3-1 offense, which that refers to our two middies, which are on top, one middie that's here by the crease. Remember, that's this area of the crease is this circle around the goal, but we put a middie up there near the crease. So these are our three middies, and we have three attackmen, one attackman at X, and one attackman on each wing. So this is our basic set when we're running our offense. We call it a 2-3-1 because there are two middies near the top of the field, a middie and two attackmen, that's three middies near the middle of the field, and one attackman behind the field. So that's a 2-3-1 offense. There are other offensive sets that people use, but this is the one that we use on our team. And so when you hear the coach remind you that it's we need to get into our offense, we need to get into the 2-3-1, this is what he's talking about, getting into our basic offensive set. Two middies on top, one middie on the crease, two attackmen on the wings, and one behind the goal at X. Okay. So let's just talk about our basic, some positioning stuff. So if this middie has the ball, most likely he's going to be interested in passing to the other middie up top, or to the middie on the wing, or if we're really lucky, the guy on the crease will be open and he can pass it there and we'll get a quick score. So let me talk first about what this guy on the crease is going to do. So he basically is going to live inside this area that we like to call the house, right in front of the goal. I'll go ahead and draw it as a rectangle like we've done before. So we call this area in front of the goal the house or the hole, and this middie is going to live inside this area. He's going to stay there depending on where the ball is. If the ball's up here with this middie, the crease middie is going to move over here, and what he's doing is he's trying to stay away from the ball but still inside the house. And the reason he does that is so that his defender will also come over here and not be near the ball, not be able to play help defense on the ball. So he's getting his defender out of the way, but also this makes it so that if he wants to, he can cut toward the ball and catch the ball in a good position to score. But his basic position is going to be away from the ball. So if this other middie has the ball, the crease middie is going to move over here, again to be away from the ball. If this attackman has the ball, the crease middie will come up over here, away from the ball. And if this attackman has the ball, then you guessed it, the crease middie is going to move over here. If the ball's at X with this attackman, the crease middie can really be anywhere he wants, but he's probably going to be up here near the top. But again, this is a really good opportunity to sort of cut one way or the other, try to find a defender who's not paying attention, and get a nice pass from that attackman at X. Okay, so that's the basic idea for the middie in the middle. As the ball moves around, he's going to move to various positions inside this area, always staying inside the hole, inside the house, but staying away from the ball. Okay, so let me just draw him back in here, and we'll talk about our basic offense. So let me move back up here, pretending that this middie has the ball. So if he passes the ball, if this middie passes the ball over here, really nothing much happens. Okay, that's fine. These two guys can pass it back and forth, and nothing really is going to be happening in our offense except the crease middie is going to be moving around to try to get open and to try to keep his defender out of the way. But if one of these middies passes it down to an attackman, okay, if the middie passes it down to an attackman, that is going to trigger our offense. So let me just say that again. Anytime a midi passes to an attackman, or later, anytime an attackman passes to a midi, that is going to trigger our rotations in our offense. And the way we rotate, so if this midi just passed the ball down to this attackman, then what he's going to do is he's going to cut toward the crease. And the reason he does that, we call it, in practice, we call this a rotation. But the reason he's going to do that is he's just made the pass down here, so there's a very good chance that his defender is going to stop paying attention. The defender is going to go look at the ball. So his defender is not going to be paying any attention to him. If he cuts to the goal, this attackman wants to make that pass to the midi so he can score. But if he's not open, this midi is going to come to the crease, and then this midi, who was in the crease, is going to move out. And then this midi, who was over here, is going to come across. And that is our basic triangle rotation. When this midi cuts to the crease, the attackman should look for him, should try to make this pass if he's open, if he's available. If he's not open, if he's not available, then this midi coming across probably will be open, and we can make that pass. Or we can pass back to the attackman at X. So this guy's really going to have three options. He can hit the midi who just passed it to him as he cuts to the crease. He can hit the midi who came across, or he can pass it back to X. Any one of those is a really good option. Okay, so the midis have rotated. They've got in their new positions, and they're just going to stay there. Okay, the midi who was up here is now on the crease. The midi who was on the crease is now up here. The midi who was over here is now over here, and they're just going to keep playing in those positions until the next time it's time to rotate. Okay, and of course, if it happens the other way, if this midi is the one who had the ball, again, he could pass it across and no rotation is needed. A pass from a midi to a midi does not start the rotation. But if the midi passes to an attackman, now it's time for a rotation. Okay, so the midi just passed to this attackman, so who cuts to the crease? The answer is the midi who just made that pass is the one who cuts to the crease. So he's going to go this way, and this attackman's going to look for him. He's going to try to pass it to him, because if he's open, that's going to be a good way to score. If he's not open, that's fine too. The midi who was on the crease will rotate out, and the midi who was over here will go back and fill the spot that midi just left, and we get our basic rotation. Again, this attackman, he's not just going to look at his feet. He's not necessarily going to try to shoot and score right away. When he gets that pass, he needs to look at this midi who's cutting to the crease. If that midi's open, we want to make that pass and shoot and score. If that midi's not open, then this midi coming across might be open, and he can catch the ball and drive and shoot and score. If neither of those guys are open, then this guy can go ahead and try to drive and shoot and score, or he can pass to the attackman at X, and we can restart our offense. So these are the basic rotations. It's really very simple. Whichever midi passes to an attackman, that midi is the one who cuts to the crease. So if this midi passes to this attackman, he's going to cut to the crease, and everybody else is going to rotate. If this midi passes to the attackman, he's going to cut to the crease, and everybody else is going to rotate. Okay, so that's our basic midi rotation. We can go either way. If this guy makes the pass down, we rotate this way. If this guy makes the pass down, then he's the one who cuts to the crease. But these aren't just walking to the crease. You want to make a good cut. Run with your stick up, ready to catch the ball, ready to shoot and score. All right, so that's the first rotation. That's the middies. The other rotation that we do is an attack rotation. So if an attackman passes to an attackman, we don't rotate. So if he passes to X, we don't rotate. If the guy at X passes up here, we don't rotate. Okay? If he passes from this attackman to this attackman, no rotation. If this attackman passes to that attackman, no rotation. No rotation. The time we do have a rotation is if the attackman passes to the midi. Okay? And the rule's just exactly the same as before. If this attackman makes the pass to this midi, since he's the one who made the pass, he's the one who's going to go toward the crease. So he's going to run toward the crease. And by the way, this midi's probably going to be up high because this guy just had the ball. When he passes up here, this midi should stay up high, stay out of the way. So this attackman just passed the ball to the midi. That starts the rotation. So he's going to come across. And he's going to cut to the crease. If he catches the ball, if he's open, midi should pass it to him. He's open, he's going to shoot, he's going to score. That's good for us. If he's not open, keep going all the way across, and you end up over here. Then this attackman is going to come up and fill the position that guy just left, and the midi needs to look, because after this guy runs across, his defender's going to follow him. When this guy comes up, he could be wide open, so we want to make that pass so he can shoot and score. So the attackman goes across the crease, the guy at X comes and takes his position, and the guy who was over here goes down to X, so we have a nice rotation. Okay, because this guy's the one who made the pass, he's the one who cuts across. He's going to cut across looking for the ball with his stick up, ready to catch a pass, ready to shoot and score. If he doesn't get the ball, just go all the way across and take this spot where this attackman was. Everybody else rotates. Okay, lastly, if this is the attackman who has the ball, and he passes it up here to this midi, now this midi has the ball, that is going to trigger our rotation. So since he's the one who had the ball, since he's the one who passed it to a midi, he's the one who cuts to the crease. So he's going to cut across to the crease, midi's going to look for him, try to pass it to him. If he's open, he's going to catch the ball, he's going to shoot, he's going to score. If he's not open, he's going to run all the way across to where this attackman was. This attackman's going to come down to X, and this attackman is going to come up and fill the spot that this guy just left. Again, this midi should look first at the cutting attackman to see if he's open. If he is, he can shoot and score. Even if he's not open, this other guy coming around might be open, and you can pass to this attackman who can shoot and score. If none of those passes are available and nobody's open, then we can pass over to this midi, or we can pass to the midi on the crease, and we have all kinds of other options. But that rotation among the attackmen is designed to get these guys open so that they can shoot and score. The reason we do all these rotations is to get people open and to make the defense work. As long as we're moving, the defense has to keep moving and has to keep working and has to keep paying attention. As soon as we start standing still, it makes it a lot easier for the defense to keep us from scoring. All right, I hope that helps you guys understand our basic triangle rotation offense. When we see you guys in practice or in the games, if we tell you to get into our 2-3-1 offense, I hope you guys will remember that means 2 midis on top, a midi and 2 attackmen, that makes 3 across the middle and 1 behind the goal at X. So that's our 2-3-1 offense. And when we are running our offense, we've got these 2 triangles where we can rotate. The attackmen can rotate in their triangle, the midis can rotate in their triangle, and we start the rotation every time a ball is thrown from an attack to a midi or from a midi to attack.